Welcome back, guys, to another episode of All Things Single Seater. I am joined with Jordan as usual, and we are here for the Imola GP review, the Emilia Romagna GP review. Great, I've messed up already. How did we find the race, Jordan?
The race was a bit touch and go, but over the weekend, lots of drama, lots of things going on. Still looking like a Red Bull versus Ferrari fight at the moment. But yeah, quite a good weekend. Lots to take away from. First race in the wet as well, so that's ticked off. Quite a different weekend to what we've seen.
Yeah, um, the rain didn't come how we were expecting, so our predictions just kind of went out the window pretty much. But no, I thought it was an exciting race, but also quite predictable and quite boring at times. A few standout performances and a few people that I think should be quite embarrassed by themselves, maybe. Um, but I mean, yeah, should we start? I'd say start with one of the standouts for me, who I've been quite critical of recently and forever. But Stroll got a point for Aston Martin, a double points for Aston Martin. I mean, neither of us saw that coming.
No, no. We said if anyone gets points, it will probably be Seb. No offense, Lance, but
Yeah,
Um, yeah, clearly they've done something, or the track just suited them, or the wet. You don't really know. If it was a normal weekend, like without the sprint, you could think, well, would that have happened? Have they just maximised their opportunity with the sprint as well? Um, but good performance from both of them. All teams have now scored points, which is, I think, great to see. But yeah.
yeah, I'd agree. I think the car just it looked good. It was clear. I think dry running they weren't as fast, but it was really nice to see Stroll with battling Yuki, who's another standout, I'd say. But um, yeah, he does have great car control, and he is good in mixed conditions, and I think that really helped him. Yeah, Seb getting points as well was just really good. Literally a few days after I said they might not score all season, so fantastic. Um, but no, it's really really good to see. Hopefully they can use this momentum and just push on. But another guy that really surprised me was Yuki. Fantastic race.
Yeah, I think he's really improved. I think he had like this year was the year for him to prove himself. Obviously after his first year, and I'd probably say this is probably being a bit out there. He's better than Pierre at this moment in time, just because of the consistency, the overtakes. He's not making any mistakes, and Pierre just got stuck outside the points, and yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely train central throughout that race. I'd say with Pierre being kind of in that behind that rocket of a Williams that just couldn't. Yeah, you could shift anyone. But no, I Gasly's not set. He's not been exciting yet. I don't think, and that's what we all love in Gasly is when he's quick, and he's just kind of like out there on his own, P5, P6 sort of thing. So it is quite annoying to see him down there because I'm a big fan of him, but he definitely got outshone by Yuki this weekend, and he had great pace. Yuki did, sorry, had have great pace and kind of just stayed in that sort of area, not really under pressure. When he kind of started pulling away from Lance, he was in his own little world, which was really nice to see.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, so with the standouts, I'd say those two kind of speak for me. But in terms of disappointments, Danny Rick.
Oh, it was such a rookie mistake.
Yes.
Like, y- when obviously it first happened, I was like, oh, like, is that a bit of both? Like, is it just a racing incident? Um, But then when you watched the replay, you could tell it was
Danny.
Rick's fault. Carlos couldn't do anything. He was just like a sitting duck. But yeah,
Yeah, it's
it
not.
just didn't go well in the end, did it, for him?
No, no. And it was really annoying because the McLarens looked good. Obviously, the Ferrari was good, and it was conditions that both of them could have done really well in. So it was really stupid from Danny Ricks. He watched the onboard after and instantly was like, "Yeah, that's all on me." So I mean, he owned up to it and he apologized to Carlos, but Carlos needed a really good result, especially after his mistake in quali, which is why I think he did kind of let himself down a lot this weekend because he was in a position where he shouldn't have been. I feel he should have been could have been a bit further forward anyway for the actual start of the proper race. So yeah, not a good weekend for both, I'd say.
Yeah, I think obviously with it being Italy, it's one of Ferrari's home Grand Prix. But I think that pressure just put onto him, and I don't know if Carlos is going to be able to cope with pressure this year. It seems really tough
To
to
say,
say, especially after he's renewed his contract. But I just feel like obviously they've got a championship car at this moment in time, and the only one who's doing really well is Charles.
apart from last weekend, um, he's on my disappointment list. I'm sorry, has to be said. He's on the list.
He done well apart from that little moment in the race, and
Defines a
yeah, like
championship. Defines a championship. Take P3. Why did he need to be pushing that hard? When I saw him in the wall, I got so mad. I was just like, why? What are you doing? And it could have been. What could have been? Obviously gifted the podium to Norris, so another amazing weekend for him on the other side of the garage for McLaren. We thought he'd do well there. I didn't put him in my top five. I kind of hate myself for that, but we did think,
yeah. Well, I don't know. I think the McLarens are the type of car where they're either going to do really good at the moment or really bad. Well, they had one car doing both.
yeah,
Um, but it just, if you have a clean race and you're there, don't make any mistakes, and then someone makes a mistake in the top three, then they do deserve a podium, the person who's in fourth, if they've had a good race like Lando did. Um, and it is deserved. People say that, oh, like he was gifted it or stuff like that. Well, he wasn't, because
he had to be there. Like,
you have to be there.
yeah.
People make mistakes, and there's someone who's got to pick it up in the end. And it's a bit like George
Oh, yeah. He's really
in
impressing me.
Australia. Did was that George who got that podium?
Yeah,
Who was lucky, or Lewis? Bahrain, was he lucky because of the Red Bulls?
yeah.
It's like,
but he had to be there as well. Like Lewis still
yeah,
had
like,
a
it
good
seems like
race.
it's happening to all the Brits at the moment.
Yeah.
So
Albon
it's
next
just,
week.
yep. It just seems one of those things where you have to be there, and yes, it is a bit of luck, but it's not dependent on that. You're not going to think, oh yeah, I'm going to have the cleanest race ever. I'm not going to push my tyres too much and hope for a podium.
Yeah, if you're
It
not in
just
it, you can't win it.
exactly. Um, yeah, back-to-back podiums for Norris in Imola. So
Yeah, exactly. Really, really well done. And then going on to Mercedes, which you mentioned with G-Russ. I mean, he is performing so well that only drivers get top five at every round. I mean, held off Bottas. So I messaged you about that. I so thought there was going to be a coming together, but we'll get to that after. But I mean, he's outshowing Lewis, and I hate to say it. Is it the changing of the guard?
uh,
Maybe.
I want all them people who said, "Oh, George Russell isn't going to do good in the Mercedes, all stuff like that. To take it back now because
I think I
he's
was
doing
one.
brilliant. It's like I knew he would do well, but for him to do this well, beating Lewis, it's just like wow. Like
What was wrong with Lewis?
I don't know. But he's becoming Mr. Consistent, not Mr. Saturday, Mr. Consistent.
Yeah, he
And
really is.
it will help if Mercedes fix their problems because I think they've got upgrades coming for Miami. Um, if George's consistent 4 weekends are going to help if they're going to be able to fight for the championship.
Yeah, definitely,
So,
or at least easily take P3 because that's got to be their realistic aim is to have P3. If they finish below that, that's a disaster. And
oh yeah, yeah, they're going to aim for. I don't know if they're going to be aiming for top again. If they aim for either second or third in the constructors, then it's not going to be as damaging as
yeah,
would fourth, fifth, sixth, so on.
yeah,
Um, yeah, Lewis is just another story to talk about.
yeah, he's looking defeated, isn't he? I mean, he thrives in those conditions, and he just had nothing.
I don't even know what to say. Like you could sit there and rewatch it and see if any mistakes were made. Obviously, it was unfair on what happened to him in the pit lane, being he
Yeah,
almost got taken out in the pit lane, which isn't his fault. He couldn't do anything. You saw him move to the side, um, but I think that might have just ruined his race. Um,
yeah,
if he came out ahead of obviously Ocon and they didn't have that problem, you might have seen a very different Hamilton.
yeah.
But,
I don't think I still don't think we would have. He didn't look great all weekend.
but how can two cars be so different?
That's the thing. That's what's confusing me about it. It's not nice to see one teammate do really really well and the other literally not get to grips with the car. Speaking of that, Mick Schumacher, what's going on here? Discuss.
Uh, I wish I could tell you. I really
I'm
do. I
running out
don't
of
know what.
excuses.
I feel like he's going to be the one we're going to be talking bad about now. I
Yeah,
don't want to because he is a good driver, but Magnussen is just on another level. And it's like, how many more chances do you keep giving Mick? Kevin's future is sorted. He's with Haas
yeah,
the next couple of years.
yeah.
Mick is on a 1 year contract. He needs to start thinking about his contract and drive and just push really hard to get into the points.
Yeah,
But
he needs to score. He needs to score because K Mag only hasn't scored at one race this year, and
mm,
he's still not back at his best. We know that it's going to take another couple of months or month at least for that to happen. And Mick's just making mistakes, but he's making the mistakes that he made last year still, like the spin across the chicane during the race, the spin on lap one, like these are just silly errors that are really really costing him because that has had pace for a top 10 for obviously K-Mag showed that. I just I don't have anything to back him up with at the moment and he needs to deliver.
I know, and I think that's the thing what's got everyone a bit like there is no excuses.
Yeah,
Like from where, what did he start the race in 11th?
yeah,
If he didn't have that spin, he would have easily scored points, and I think that's what everyone's thinking. Like he
yeah.
could have avoided that and just went from there. And I can't believe we're talking bad about Mick. Like,
Well, it does beg the question that I said on the pre-season one was that Haas that bad, or was Mazepin just that bad? And Mick wasn't at the level we thought he was last year anyway. But he was better than Mazepin, so we all thought he was exceptional. But maybe Mazepin was just that bad.
Because we was obviously focused on Mazepin, we weren't looking at Mick.
No.
I don't know. I feel like
There's an amazing driver in there. We've seen that from
yeah,
his
oh
junior,
yeah.
but some drivers just don't fit. Don't It doesn't work in F1, and I don't want that to be the case with Mick, but he has to start putting in results.
Well, his junior career in like F2, F3, I think it took him a little while to get used to the car. So I don't know if that is kind of coming into it, but in his like second year, he would like fight for the championship type thing.
Yeah,
Obviously, he's not going to be fighting for the championship this year, but he should be doing better than what he is. He should be scoring points. He should be
yeah,
maybe getting into Q3.
definitely. I think that is the case here though, because obviously he had a year in F1 last year, but his rule changes. So
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
it now that he needs another year to get used to this car? And that's not, teams aren't going to want you if you can't get up to speed quickly. So it's going to be interesting. I think his seat's secure at Haas this year anyway, regardless, and probably next year. But he must improve.
There's a lot of juniors waiting to come up, and they will grab any opportunity in any car. So he does.
Definitely, definitely. Speaking of juniors and looking to be replacing others, Nicholas Latifi. How these transitions are getting better each week. How do we think Williams did? And Latifi, Albon, thoughts?
Albon done really well.
Yeah,
Shame he didn't get points, you know. Yeah, he had pace in that car. Like, where does it come from? Um, Latifi actually finished the race. Yay.
if that's
Um,
all we can give him, then
Honestly, I saw on like Twitter, like before the race started, like people predicting when Latifi would crash. And everyone was saying lap one, whatever. And then once the race was finished, everyone was like, "Oh my God, Latifi actually finished!" And yeah,
yeah, he was closer to Albon in the race this week. Obviously out qualified him because Albon had that brake failure, but in the race he was closer. Granted, it was wet and a bit trainy, but he can lose it very easily in the dry, so he can also do it in the wet. So
yeah,
you've got to give him credit for that, but yeah, it was just mediocre, I think, from Latifi with Albon in the race doing really well, holding back the AlphaTauri and the Mercedes. So yeah, he still has to improve. Miami's going to be a good test, I think, for all the drivers because it's kind of a level playing, not a complete level playing field, but everyone's learning that track from scratch. So
yeah.
hopefully that will put the field closer, and maybe some of the guys that aren't doing very well can put in a good result. Who else is there to discuss? Alpine. It was kind of a nothing weekend for them. We thought they were going to do really well.
Well, you thought Fernando was going to get P5.
Yeah, all right. You said Ocon, okay? I mean, granted, Ocon finished, but I mean, it wasn't good. I mean, Alonso was doing well. Obviously, the damage from Mick, good one, Mick. So he kind of had to retire then. Would he have got points? You'd probably bank on it, but you don't know.
Yeah. Well, would he have though? Because he dropped back in the sprint. He didn't do good at all in the sprint.
Yeah.
For someone who done so well last year, we was all like, "Yeah, you go," and it was just like, "Oh no." Anyway, no, it's up and down weekend for Alpine definitely. Good that they at least scored some points, but they know that it could have been better. Yeah, It's Miami for them. I think they're just going to look forward and forget about Imola completely.
Definitely, definitely. Another up and down for a team is Alfa Romeo. Obviously, Bottas just doing incredible Bottas things right now, which is amazing. I so wanted him to get that position on George. Not anything against George, just it would have just been the icing on the cake, wouldn't it? Really. But Joe had a bit of a weak weekend, I'd say, but he's a rookie, so we've got to expect it. It was a bit of a silly move on Gasly, I think, to close. I don't think he gave him enough space on the inside, which caused the contact. So that kind of let him down in the sprint, and then obviously a bit of a nothing weekend. But Bottas again scoring points is just amazing.
Yeah, I think, well, this is what they want as a team. They want, obviously, Bottas to consistently score. And if, obviously, Guan Yu Zhou has a bad weekend, then at least they've got one car scoring points. Um, and Zhou is all about learning. He's never raced at this track. So you've got to kind of give him a bit of credit, a bit like how we did with obviously the newbies last year. They hadn't raced at obviously Imola, some other tracks as well. So you do have to kind of give him a bit of like benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
Um, he's only well, it was only the fourth race weekend out of 23, so he's got a long way to go, and I'm sure he will maybe do some better performances than what he had done. It's all about learning as well for him.
definitely, definitely. I mean, you need to make mistakes to learn. So just hope that he does learn from it. And as I said before, he's shown good pace this year, and he has surprised me. So we're probably going to be expecting a few down weekends from him this year. So yeah, can't really take too much away from him. But Red Bull, class above the rest,
Yeah, I
ish.
well, we didn't really know what to think because obviously they said they was bringing upgrades, and it's a bit like, well, hold on a minute, you got the sprint, you're not going to have enough practice, you can't change the car after qualifying. Um, they took a risk and it paid off. They are a lot closer to the Ferraris, obviously 1-2. Um, they're looking like they're back on track.
Yeah,
Obviously, is reliability what was their issues. So it's going to be a test to see if they happen again in a couple of races' time. Um, and if it keeps happening, then the championship is going to go towards Ferrari, surely.
yeah, definitely. It was a good weekend. Well, a great weekend for them. Perez, I felt did really really well. In the sprint, nearly catching Checo at the end with the tyre management, and then he made a few mistakes in the wet, but he did keep Leclerc behind him, and he didn't. He kind of didn't bottle it under pressure, but he made the mistakes when he wasn't under pressure, if that makes sense. Like he pulled
Yeah.
a gap out and then made a mistake, and then Charles was right on him, and then he pulled away again. So, I think it was a good weekend for both of them, and Checo needs to keep doing that. He needs to keep getting these second places and these third places to prove to Red Bull that he should be there.
Yeah, because obviously he's got his contract ending this year. If he keeps performing stuff like that, then I don't see why they shouldn't not renew the contract. Then they've got people who are hungrier. They've got a lot of F2 drivers wanting to come up. So he's probably got lots of pressure over the weekend, but it's not just Ferrari, it's his seat, it's everything. It's, well, I need to perform better. I either need to beat Max or beat the Ferraris. Who would you rather want to beat? I'd say more the Ferraris. They're your main competition.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
definitely. I think Perez knows that. I mean, that pole in Jeddah will really give him a boost that he can match Max and beat him. He has been a lot closer to Max this year in quali than he was last year, so clearly I think he's worked on that side of it, the side of his game compared to last season. But his aim has just got to be, I think, he'll want to beat Max every week, but it's got to just be the Ferraris for now. And I think just prove that he can be there, pick up a win or two across the season, outqualify Max a few times this year. I'd like to see that. But you never know. I mean, if Max has a few DNFs or a few bad races and Perez gets like a second or a third and it's two Ferraris and Perez on the podium, it could swing the other way because they're not that far apart in the point standings at the moment.
Yeah, I think Max is struggling with this year's car.
Yeah.
Everyone knows how he likes the car. Yes, last year he just ran away with it, type thing, and it was only really him and Lewis. But this year it's a completely different story. Obviously, Ferraris have like gone with it this time. Obviously, they've made some mistakes, but they haven't had both cars DNF in one race. Max has obviously had another DNF, so the pressure is on Max quite a lot. But I can see Checo beating him a few times this year.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, I can too. I don't think he'll beat him in the standings, but I think he will have a few races, quite a few this year, more so than last year where he is really on the pace. Yeah, just really exciting though because it's the constructors and the drivers and the constructors have closed in from the results this weekend. Gonna have to check the standings again. I know it's a close gap with the Red Bulls. Like the two Red Bull teammates, and obviously they had a big point. They had maximum points haul apart from fastest lap, didn't they, on the weekend?
I thought Max got fastest lap. No, is that
Did
just
he?
me? I thought he did.
Oh, let me check. I might be wrong.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, but Leclerc on 86, Max on 59, Perez on 54, and Giros 49, with Sainz down in fifth on 38 points. It's the top five, so it's kind of a bit. It's closed up. It sucks that Sainz is fifth, but I do think he's going to have a lot of strong races in the future. I hope you're not as hopeful, are you?
I'd love to see Carlos do really well. I think everyone wants to see him do really well. Obviously, last year Carlos beat Charles, and everyone was going into this year thinking, "Oh, Carlos is going to do brilliant." I didn't think that personally. I knew he was going to do good, but Ferrari have said as soon as Charles get a world champion car, watch him.
Yeah. And we're watching him. Yeah.
We're watching him a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I don't know. Can he cope with the pressure? Charles is just on another level. You've got to be at the very top of your game to match him.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. There is something that actually we got to mention just in case, but both of the F1 race directors have tested positive for COVID. So is Miami going to go ahead?
I'm free if they want me to, Not joking. Just, give me a text or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who could replace them? Because obviously they're taking it in turns, aren't they?
Yeah.
And Lewis mentioned about how the lack of masks in Australia from the race directors was an issue for him.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks later, they test positive, didn't they?
Yeah, we could get Massey back for one weekend.
No.
Never.
No.
Never
I
again.
say Seb should do it.
What, an Hulkenberg race in the Aston?
Oscar.
Or Oscar. Yeah, Oscar. He's going to go to Williams, I think, mid-season.
You think mid-season?
Yeah, I do. It's either going to be him or Aitken, but I do think Latifi will be out mid-season. You heard it here first.
That's got to hurt. I don't know. I think, well, obviously Oscar is being linked to that Williams seat, isn't he, for potentially next year, or you think halfway through this season.
Yeah.
But there is someone also else in that possibly
Bracket.
going to get that Williams seat as well.
Logan?
No, he doesn't race in F2. He races in Formula E.
Tipton? No.
Ooh.
Degrassi? Verne?
No.
DaCosta?
No.
Let me guess. I'm gonna get this. Is he old or young?
Youngish, yeah.
Youngish. Oh, Giovinazzi.
No.
Oh, I was I was sure on that one. Has he ever raced an F1? Oh,
He's done.
The freeze.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
why was he not my first pick?
You've got to think he is with Mercedes. So that Mercedes engine, obviously in the back of the Williams, but he's also being heavily linked as well for that Williams seat. So I don't know if they're looking to get rid of both drivers, get rid of one type thing. Risky if they was going to get rid of both and put two brand new people into that Williams.
Yeah. No,
So
definitely. I think
they done that, they should have done it either this year or last year type thing. But yeah, he's been considered for that seat. Makes sense because Mercedes are leaving Formula E this year. So
could be. It could be if my prediction comes in of Gasly going to Aston Martin, Albon to AlphaTauri, De Vries and Piastri at Williams. It's never going to happen, but it would be cool. It would be cool if it did.
oh, love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
No,
Then
it would be good.
I'd just like to ruin your fun and say, well, what about the F2 drivers?
See what I have to work with? You with your logic. Just let me make the grid myself, alright? I will pick my favourite drivers.
Yep. Well, I'm surprised you put back in there. Like,
who?
like Aitken.
Oh, yeah. He's not high on the list, is he? To be honest, to get a seat.
Well, he normally is for you.
Yeah, he is, but he's their test driver still. But I still don't think they'll put him in, even though he proved that he could do a good job. I just don't think they ever will. Ilott would be a good one as well because he's not in Formula E though, is he? You mentioned that.
He's in IndyCar.
He is in IndyCar. He's not doing that great in IndyCar at the moment.
Oh.
I saw some of the races.
I thought he was your friend, you know, TikTok buddies and.
Yeah, we are TikTok buddies. I'm going to post this one.
He's not like now after that.
Well, the other week he got outraced by Takuma Sato, so a 42-year-old. Like, I think he's older than that actually. But yeah, I think it's just maybe the first year. Grosjean's doing really well though in IndyCar this year.
Yeah, he almost won, didn't he? The other week.
Yeah, and Marcus Ericsson is doing very well. I think he's P4 in the standings. We'll have to do another episode on IndyCar just to like update and do all the drivers because I was watching the last race. I always forget where it was. I'm going to say Dallas. I don't think it was, but it was really exciting. Like it was really good to watch.
Yeah, I've got to say IndyCar is completely different. It's on this weekend, you know, little advert. You're welcome, IndyCar.
Sponsor
us. So it'll be interesting to see what obviously happens for them this weekend.
Definitely will. But that's gonna wrap up our episode for today for the Italian Grand Prix, Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. I keep getting it wrong every time I think about it. We will be back next week for the Miami review. Hopefully it goes ahead. I can't see it not, but we've been shocked in the past. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. As always, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know your thoughts, and we will see you next time.